Chapter 8. Why do you hate him? The voice came from everywhere, yet nowhere. It seemed to surround Tara, but she didn't even know where she was. She felt like nothing more than consciousness, suspended in darkness. It felt as if it went on forever. What? The voice said nothing more, but in the blink of an eye, Tara found herself somewhere else. She was down on her knees now, with the wind rushing through her hair, and a vast shadow was cast over her, even though she could feel the blazing sun overhead. Her hand was stretched out, and in it lay a metal spike soon taken hold of by another, larger hand. I said, why do you hate him? Tara looked up to see that the shadow that had been cast on her was coming from someone dressed as a Roman centurion. She still felt her very real physical pain of a woman in distressed labor, and vaguely realized that this person couldn't be real, but it felt very, very real. Taking a quick glance behind her, Tara saw a desert sprawling out from the base of the mountain she was kneeling on. She didn't recognize the area. Not that it matters anyway, right? This can't be real. This isn't real. Where am I? Tara asked aloud. The centurion ignored the question and picked up a hammer that he then swung powerfully through the air. Tara followed the motion, seeing the hammer drive the metal spike she had been holding earlier through the wrist of a man hung up on a cross. A blood-curdling scream followed as the man's blood splashed right in front of her, an arcing fountain of arterial blood. The sight sickened Tara, and with it seemed to come the realization that she was surrounded by gore. The smell of blood and viscera hung so thickly in the air. She could almost taste it, but something seemed to compel her to look up at the bloodied man anyway. He was clothed, but just barely. His clothes had been reduced to bloody rags, and his skin was barely recognizable. It had been stripped off his body so violently, it seemed to hang off of his bones, every sinew in his body seemingly visible. On his head was a circlet of thorns that embedded into his skull. Blood streamed from the wounds into his eyes, continuing down to join the mess that was his clothing. What is this? At the realization that he had been nailed to a cross, her heart skipped a beat. Looking around nervously, Tara noticed two other males hanging on their own crosses, one to each side of the man she had been looking at. Small groups of bystanders stood scattered, some with heads bowed low, around the mountaintop. A few appeared to be mourning, while others laughed and jeered in the direction of the man on the cross, but they were all wearing ancient clothing. The people Tara could make out were dressed similar to the centurion, with clothes that must have been worn over 2,000 years ago. It suddenly dawned on Tara where she was, and what was happening. This can't be, Tara said, her voice a mix of fear and disbelief. I can't be here. But no one seemed to pay her any mind, least of all the soldier in front of her. Instead, he held out his hand. Give me another, he said to her in a harsh, loud voice. Tara made no movements, and this seemed to aggravate him. There, right in front of you. Are you blind, woman? Be quick. Tara looked down and saw a wooden bucket full of metal spikes, like the one she had handed off to the centurion moments earlier. Give one to me, now! His voice shook her to the core, but Tara looked up at the ancient soldier and shook her head. Then you wish to join him? Take his place, maybe? Tara sprang to her feet, scared beyond belief. She turned to run away, but had forgotten that she was on the edge of the mountain, and so she found herself plummeting, while the laugh of the centurion followed her down, and she continued to fall until... Ah! Tara's eyes were flung open to reveal Devon leaning over her, shaking her with a worried expression. Tara, in great panic, heaved herself into a painful semi-sitting position, staring wide-eyed around the room in confusion. The pain level is so great that it's causing her to pass out, Isaac was explaining. We have to keep her awake. I've got to get the baby out as soon as... Tara, oh good, you're back. Please, Tara, you really do need to stay conscious for the baby. But Tara didn't feel remotely interested in what Devon was saying. The whole message was pointless anyway. Staying conscious wasn't in her control, and it was insane suggesting that it was. In fact, now it felt as if nothing in Tara's life was hers to control. Life was in a downward spiral, heading somewhere she didn't recognize and wasn't sure she wanted to go. I was there, she said in a soft, tortured voice. I was there. Isaac stepped forward, a look of deep concern on his face. Calm down, Tara. We're almost there. and you're going to need all the... But I was there! She was screaming now at the top of her voice, appearing delirious, crazy. Tara knew the other two thought she was getting too worked up for her own good, and the impromptu birthing aides looked more than worried. You were where, exactly? Devon asked, cautiously, making certain to keep a distance as if she thought Tara might lash out. And then, as quickly as it had begun, Tara felt the fight go out of her, and she sagged calmly back down into the mattress. I gave it to him, she said, her voice back to its weak state. You gave what? And to whom? Who is he? Keep talking, Tara. I need you to stay with me. Stay with us. The soldier. I gave him that spike with my own hand, so he could go ahead and kill him, murder him. What she just said clearly made no sense to either of the two, and they looked horrified. Devon looked to Isaac, as if seeking some sort of an explanation. He shrugged. I have no idea, Tara. But after a moment's thought, he seemed to have come to a conclusion. I believe the medication I administered earlier might be causing her to hallucinate. Tara suddenly grabbed Devon by the arm, clamping so tight that it probably hurt her. You believe me, right? Tell him. Tell him what, Tara? Tara's tight grasp increased, relentlessly twisting Devon's skin with each wave of contractions. Tara was in a world of agony, but she bore it stoically, using Devon for physical comfort and biting down on her own bottom lip, only letting an occasional scream escape. Tara took in a deep breath and began speaking again. Devon, she moaned again between contractions. I have to tell him. You know I do. Tell what? And who to? She asked a second time, if not a third. He asked me if I would take his place, you know. Then he nailed his wrists with the spike and... Tara suddenly stopped talking and burst out crying. Oh, Devon, I've never seen anyone treated so badly, hurt so deeply. His entire body was broken. She struggled on through her tears, and then another contraction hit. Isaac rushed forward to check on her, and then looked at both women. It's here. The baby's coming out now. I can see the head. Tara, I need you to stay with me, okay? Tara let out another scream, really loud this time, and everyone knew this was the one they'd been waiting for. Push! Tara screamed some more, her entire frame shuddering with the effort it was taking to follow Isaac's solitary instruction. Tears streamed down her face again, but this time, they were tears of joy. Her son was going to be born, at last. Push, Tara, push! You can do this, Tara. Keep going. And push she did, with everything in her. Isaac stood at the foot of the bed, carefully monitoring and guiding Tara's progress as Devon stood at Tara's side, smiling and repeating words of encouragement. Out of nowhere, there was a loud knock on the door. Tara, deep in her labor pains, didn't register the sound. Isaac signaled Devon to go check out who it was, and then returned his attention to the birth. As Devon moved quickly toward the front door, the corridor's relative calm felt alien to her. The delivery room had been so high energy that it felt strange to no longer be caught up in the middle of it, even though Tara and Isaac could still be heard, even in the living room. The door swung open to reveal a short, middle-aged woman with blonde hair and a surprised expression. She'd clearly been expecting to see only Tara. Hello there, young lady. I'm looking for Tara. As you probably guessed, I'm her neighbor, Lisa. My husband and I got back from a family trip this morning and saw some police officers snooping around. Is she in? Devon nodded slowly. She is, but she hesitated and wasn't given a chance to finish before Lisa pushed and barged in, assertively pushing by Devon, who immediately pulled back. Right as she crossed the threshold, Tara let out another intense scream, and Lisa almost instinctively bolted back out. Controlling herself, she stayed where she was and looked around nervously. What was that? What's going on here? That sounds like Tara. Is she? Devon nodded, then gestured for Lisa to follow her toward the room. At the door, she held up her hand to signal, stay there, while she went in and asked Tara if the woman could enter the birthing room. A moment later, she popped her head back around the door. Come on in, she said. Tara didn't say yes, but also didn't object when I said you might come in, so if you don't mind seeing the baby pop out, he's on his way right now. The woman nodded quite enthusiastically, seemingly undisturbed by the scene. Devin and Lisa entered the room just as Tara made the last great push. The baby had not yet made it all the way out, but Tara was drenched in sweat and looked about a moment away from passing out yet again. Her eyes widened as Lisa stepped into view, and her clammy hands covered her mouth in an expression of too many emotions to process.
Lisa, you're here.
Tara blinked. Even her eyelids looked fatigued, and the simple gesture seemed to take place in slow motion.
I'm going to die.
That was not the best welcome for the neighbor. Lisa looked horrified at the words. She choked back tears and rushed to her friend's side, caressing her hair.
Oh, sweetie. No, you're not going to die. You're strong. You're going to be just fine, Tara. Loads of people think this when they're giving birth. You'll see.
No, I'm not this time. Tara squeezed her face as another painful contraction seized her, but she was too weak to push, too weak to even scream.
I saw him, Lise, lying there, all bloody and...
Lisa put a finger to Tara's lips, silencing her with ease.
Shh. You need your strength, Tara. No speaking. We're all here for you, and you're going to be just fine. You're doing great. Come on now. The little guy's almost here.
Tara looked as if a wave of calm had washed over her, and she closed her eyes once more.
Why do you hate him?
With a start, Tara opened her eyes again. She was back in the bright sun of the desert, at the scene of the grotesque suffering. Once again, she held the spike, and once again, it was taken from her before she could react.
Not again.
Tara couldn't move properly in this dreamlike state and stood nearly motionless as the soldier drove the spike through the wrist of the man on the cross once again. But this time, there was no scream. The world seemed to come to a stop as the figure on the cross turned his attention to her. The crowd's noise dulled till it was almost gone, and a blue aura engulfed her vision.
I did this for you, Tara.
Tara was taken aback by his voice. It was deep and full of power, yet, at the same time, it hinted at an incredible kindness. For the first time, Tara got a good look at the full extent of his injuries, seeing that not an inch of him had been spared, not even his eyes. Swollen and ringed with cuts, they gave out the same feeling of power and love, pain and sadness, the agony of carrying the whole world's sins on his back, pain even greater than that of childbirth.
Another!
The blue aura had cleared, the crowd noise returned, and the soldier had his hand outstretched once more, giving Tara an intense look. She shook her head, this time with more resolve. She was not going to pick up another spike for him.
You dare refuse me. I said another.
His voice was no longer human, but had grown deeper, darker, and more sinister, and seemed to emanate from the earth itself. Tara hesitated, almost broken by the sheer force of it, but she gritted her teeth and shook her head once more.
Why do you care about this miserable wretch? Who is he to you?
Tara fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face for what seemed like the umpteenth time that day. She looked to the ground and closed her eyes in shame and submission to the man on the cross.
He is the Christ, the Son of the living God.
Would you die for him? The soft voice took Tara aback. She opened her eyes and saw that the world around her appeared to have stopped once more. A little girl walked through the crowd of frozen people, looking as if she didn't quite belong in the scene. Wordlessly, Tara watched her approach. Tara, would you die for him? The little girl said in an even voice. Tara's mind flashed back on her entire life, and at that moment, she saw everything in a different light. She saw that Devin had been right, that everyone had a purpose, and that God cared for everyone, even for those who died. Most of all, she saw her own hatred and how it had killed her from the inside, even though she seemed happy on the outside. She closed her eyes once more, having found peace and understanding. Yes, she said calmly, I will die for him.